music. I've never, put in any advertisements except when I was first practicing, which was about there he is. Your timing, it's just like magical. It's like, wonder if, and poof, and you're waving and you're smiling. Oh my goodness. Pronounce your first name and I will try to mimic you because you will do it right.
Sure. Yeah, it's Samer Mansour. So Saamer. So Samer and then Mansour.
Samir. Oh, fantastic. And if you decide, because I did get to see you with Abby Ritchie on Tech Tuesday, if you want to use your, what do you call it when it's not virtual? If you want to turn off the virtual so that we can better see what you're going to show us, I loved what you were showing. And so as you can probably tell, this is my real background. I didn't get a background with a cat with a cat tree in the background. The cat, however, placed himself into the room where I always put him on Wednesdays, and I went, we've got it. After a year and a half, Wednesday at this time, it's time for you to be in there, as well as the dog, just in case he wants to bark a hello. They're back in there all curled up. So Samir, Peter. Oh, this is so great. I got to see you both with other hosts, and Peter already said that it's kind of relaxing to be on this side. He'll get all the answers right because he's the only one that knows his answers. Samir, you are in the Detroit area of Michigan. And Peter, you live in where?
Hertfordshire, yeah, which is 30 miles north of London.
Wonderful. And I'm between Seattle and San Francisco. So I can get to either in about 6 hours. 6 hours? 7 hours? Something like, well, it depends on who's driving.
Where is that? Is that like Denver?
Me?
No, North California?
Oh, if you go 7 hours north of San Francisco or 7 hours south of Seattle in Washington near the Canadian border, then you'll end up in a tiny town of Independence, Oregon.
Very
but
cool.
We're getting bigger. I'm bringing you all here on Wednesdays. Oh, I'm so glad. Peter, when we talked before we went live, I was actually thinking that I would try to figure out if all three of us have been in the same country for any amount of time. I believe I had a layover in Detroit. Never saw the outside of the terminal because it kept getting delayed. That's the only thing I've got for Detroit. I don't think I even had a layover anywhere in the UK. I think that layover went over into, what's the big one? Netherlands? Do the Netherlands? Possibly, yeah. So have you two been to Canada? I have.
Yep. Many times.
Oh, ding, 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 ding. Okay, we already won that round. Everybody gets full points. Wonderful. Peter, do you know what Samir is about or what he is representing today that I think fits my aging or care or longevity category?
I think I've seen a little bit on LinkedIn before I came in, and obviously, be aware, deaf assistant is by your name there, Samir. And I'm interested as well because my major interest we'll get onto is I present a show on dementia. And one of the early signs of dementia is hearing loss. And I've spoken to audiologists about it. So, we've got a bit in common there, and I'm very interested to learn a bit more.
Certainly. And that's one of the things that we're also trying to solve. There's a lot of opportunities, I would say, in the space of hearing, and the fact, especially in the older aging population, how hearing loss has such a significant effect, not just on dementia, on things like depression. There's so many aspects of it that it's not too difficult to solve. And a lot of people who are older, even if they can get hearing aids, they don't want to use them. So there's a lot of opportunities there, not just for the people who are deaf, but for family members of the people who are deaf, for institutions that serve these people, like the doctor's office. And so we're trying to tackle some of these problems.
I'm grateful. I'm so grateful. I know my hearing has changed. I was a classroom teacher, and when I was a classroom teacher for many years before I became a mom, and it just made sense for me to work at a preschool, go from 4th grade, 3rd grade, kindergarten to work at a preschool, and I could be with my children. And that continued. Even our youngest was like, Mom, when are you going to teach at preschool again? And I had been a hired caregiver in a number of different homes for individuals 70 through over 100. And I thought, I would like to go back to that. And the last year that I did that, I had assistants. We really had a big crew, and the children were all half my height. And there were many of them, and they were lively, which is the way I love it. But it got to the point that I just could not bend low enough and get my ear close enough to that small voice to be able to hear it outside of everything else. And when I saw your app and how it could be used, and I have to say there's one feature of it that I love, and that's that it flips upside down. I don't know that my phone does that right now. I've never tried, but I love that. And I could have walked around with my phone and go, oh, that's what you need. I thought you said. So I thought, now I need to stop that. And I'm glad that I went back to caregiving. But now I know I have options. So I'm so excited about that. Peter, you kind of researched him. Summer, how about Peter? Did you get a chance to peek at anything? Because he has a lot of episodes. That's what I call them.
I did not get to see his work. I did check out his profile, and it seems pretty amazing, all the stuff that you do. It's crazy because like this stuff touches everyone's lives. We're not building Uber over here. We're not trying to help people who are trying to get to the moon. We're trying to solve problems that everyone's going to face either today or tomorrow, or they have family members that are going to face these problems. So, it's definitely amazing to be in, trying to solve problems that everyone's facing.
You both are. Peter, go ahead and give Summer some of the background that I was already privileged to hear when you spoke recently with Lisa Skinner, Bob Dietrich. If I get names wrong, but you were on Dementia Summit with her. There were many, many other people that were also part of that. I got to quick listen through a lot of those because the opportunity was given to watch and listen in replay. And I thought, oh, good. someone outside of my borders. And you were kind enough to carve out this time, dinner time for you, breakfast time for me. I don't know what time it is for Summer. if he nibbles throughout the day, or if, whatever, 6 meals a day. But thank you so much. Tell us even why you are doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure, Christine, to be representing the UK. And why I'm doing this? Well, my career was in public health for many, many years. And when I finished that career, I decided I wanted to work for a charity here in the UK. So an advert came up for the Alzheimer's Society in the UK, and I applied for it. And to be honest, within 10 days, I'd got a job with the Alzheimer's Society when I knew probably close to zero about dementia, and was totally panicking, thinking, what have I done? I ended up for 2 years managing activity groups for people living with dementia in the community, and had a great time. I've got to say, we had many laughs. We had some tears as well. I met some amazing people, a lot of them living with dementia, a lot of amazing volunteers as well. And when that came to an end, I'd always been involved in radio for years and years, but sports radio covers soccer matches here in the UK. And I thought, well, I want something to listen to. So I put Alzheimer's plus radio into Google. And when I did that, a lady called Laurie LeBay, who's now a good friend of mine, came up. Laurie is based in Minnesota, and she's been doing a show called Alzheimer's Speaks for many years. And I listened to Laurie and thought, well, there must be something like this in the UK. But there wasn't. And so I thought, well, there's an opportunity. And for all my years in public health, I'd heard people talk about diabetes, coronary heart disease, etc. I'd never heard anybody mention the D word. Nobody had actually talked about dementia. And I thought, well, why is that? It's an illness like all these other things that people have been talking about. And there isn't anybody out there actually giving people an opportunity to talk about it once a week on the radio. So that's what we do. I'm no expert. I've learned a lot over the last few years, but it really is giving a platform to people. And also, we're all frightened of things that we don't know about. We might be frightened of losing our hearing in Samir's world. But if we actually talk about it, then things for the majority of people become easier. So, my show is all about taking a difficult subject and just sit down and, hey, let's talk about it.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah,
I'm going to go off kilter for just a second, and I am so sorry. Summer, you were about to say something. Why don't you go first, because I will take us down a rabbit trail and we'll be lost.
Yeah, I was about to add to what Pete was saying. I think, the average lifespan has been increasing across the world, not just in the UK and the US. And so we're going to start seeing a lot more people talk about it as well across the world. And so Pete's show is going to be a great resource for generations to come. It's like we should have started talking about it a while ago, but obviously it's never too late to start. And I think that things like this are definitely, what should inspire more people to talk about other diseases as well.
I'm drinking this in. Yes, you're right. Oh, yes. Just love this. Pete, you said that you were an announcer for, did you call it football when you were announcing? Did you call it soccer?
Well, we have a big thing about that in the UK, don't we? We call it football. But I appreciate you call your football. So, when I'm addressing American audience, I always use the word soccer. I would never use it here in the UK with what I do. So, but I do like American football, as we call it, as well. My team is the Buffalo Bills, mainly because they're close to the Canadian border and I've been linked with Canada. But for me, it's football.
Actually, Detroit calls it football too.
There we go.
Detroit City Football Club, so DCFC.
Cool. Fun fact. Cool. Could you give us, just in this moment, this is the rabbit trail, and we'll come right back around to what's really important, but could you give us an example of your voice? Because right now you are talking with two people and we're talking about things that have gravity and have kind of an intimacy to them, like being having a stigma about wearing hearing aids or even admitting that you need to. What does that mean? Does that mean everything's going down the decline, losing dementia, losing memory, relationship norms? I'm just going to ask you, can you, in a moment's notice, put on your football voice and, like, as if the action was happening and they're approaching the goal? Do you ever do that anymore?
Yeah, I do it every Saturday, obviously, in terms of commentating on football matches. But the way we are at the moment, and the myths around subjects like dementia, hearing loss, various other illnesses, the real goal for me is, like I said before, let's get talking about it and let's bring it into the norm. Let's not say to people also, the D word counts for a number of things. One, because we don't like talking about dementia, but also it counts for don't, because people that get a diagnosis with dementia are surrounded by D words, and one of them is you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do the other, instead of another D word, which is what can we still do? And I'm sure in terms of hearing loss, you've got equalities there with things. And so that's me, that's my voice out there. I want more people to say, yes, that's what we can do. Midday today in the UK, I was talking to a really good friend of mine who's living with dementia. And to be honest, we just talked about life, the universe and everything. And why shouldn't we? Why should my friend who's living with dementia have a big D over his head when his name is Pete as well? So it was a meeting of two Petes. And we're just mates. Pete's got dementia. Well, I've got health problems as well. I've had serious health problems. We don't talk about them. We're just two people having a chat. And you've got to bring all those serious subjects, surely, into that arena.
Is it possibly slow puncture Peter Berry?
It's not, but I know Peter very well.
Oh, good.
This is one of my friends. There's a picture doing somewhere on social media where I met Peter a couple of years ago. And we had a picture taken together. And Peter and Deb, Deb Bunt, who is Peter's good friend and writes alongside him. There's a big football link between us because we're both big supporters of the British football team Arsenal. So Deb and I are both Arsenal fans, so we know each other very well.
Oh, this is great. You were talking about another friend, Pete, also, and just continued communications. It's like, okay, this diagnosis, this disease, this is here, and now we're together. And there are so many. I mean, if you wanted to find barriers, culturally, there would be situations for me to bring in two gentlemen and have them talk to me in this sort of thing wouldn't be culturally normal in some places for me to go through a bunch of categories and find out if you two root for the same team, have the same thoughts about politics, etc. We could find all sorts of walls that would put us each into a cubicle. And I'm actually saying this to segue back to Deaf Assistant, because it could be that someone would say, oh, I cannot interact with that person because I see them using sign language. Or I use sign language, but that person has not learned it. They don't feel comfortable with what they know about sign language. So therefore, we cannot have a shared interaction about the universe and weather and grandchildren. And here's Samir going, yes, that should not happen. Just because a person has diminished hearing at this point in life, and for any and every reason, they are not using sign language or feel comfortable with it or whatever. He has got, did you invent it, Samir, this app to help people to communicate with each other on life, universe, grandchildren, weather, and what's on the menu? Or sorry, we're out of your favorite today. Because I was just thinking about when you said in a restaurant. I'm going to stop jabbering again. Samir.
Yeah. So whenever we go to a trade show, for example, or an event where we're presenting, the one thing that we try to help people understand, we do something called a hearing experiment, where we people who are hearing come by, and we we essentially help them realize what their interaction is with people who are deaf or hard of hearing. And what we found out is, majority of the cases, whenever you see someone who's deaf or hard of hearing, the farthest that you go in terms of communication is you just say hi to them, and you'll just like wave like that. You don't have a normal conversation about football. You don't have a normal conversation about life and all these other things. And we show you through the app, through using the app, especially if a lot of people who are deaf and hard of hearing may also be nonverbal. So them being nonverbal, they're still able to communicate with you, and the speed of communication that you can achieve is pretty fast, and you don't need to know sign language. And so the hope is to get people connected and closer together.
Do you have your app available right now? You could show us on screen.
Yeah,
I might get closer to be able to see it.
No, don't worry about it. Here, let me remove my virtual blur because I don't have a beautiful background.
No, you are perfect. You're the only person I wanted to see. I didn't need to see, whether you have a cat or not.
Cat stand.
Oh no.
Just kidding. Okay, so if you want to download the app, you just go to defassistant.com, and then there's a download button there. It's free to download. So I highly recommend people who are listening, or Christine, if you have a moment right now, you download it. It's free. We don't take any of your data. We don't charge you anything. We don't show you ads. So it's perfectly fine for everyone to use. And we want people to feel comfortable, rather than all the other tools that are out there. They always are trying to get something. They're trying to get someone to charge a subscription, things like that. And once we built it, we noticed there are a lot of apps out there that charge around $100 as a subscription fee to the users. And so it was like, oh, we can charge that amount as well, especially since we do a lot of the things that they do, but we do so much more as well. And we do it in a lot better way. But, it was, going back, we try to think about what was our mission, and then we like we're trying to remove hurdles from people's lives. We're trying to make them have more equity, more equality in their life. But then if you add a price tag that only they have to pay, now you're adding a hurdle, a hurdle to cross this other hurdle, but still it's a hurdle in itself. And so we decided to keep that deaf assistant app free, and we started looking into any other way to make money by not charging people who are deaf. So I'm going to quickly demo the deaf app itself. So here is the app. You download it from the App Store. Once you download it, it immediately comes up over here. And you'll notice, I think it's kind of clear. There's one button. So we made it super simple to use. So people who, have weaker eyesight are also able to use it. There's an alert functionality where, let's say you're deaf or hard of hearing, someone's ringing the doorbell, your baby's crying, and how do you know? So you press the button and you press the button, it turns on the noise alert, you lock your phone, and then if there's an alert, if there's any noise that crosses the threshold, you'll see the LED blink, and it just runs in the background. So it barely uses any electricity. It vibrates the phone, and if you have a watch, it'll show you a notification on it. And the speech functionality, if you look at it, essentially if you get stopped by a cop, for example, here in the United States, and you can't hear what the cop is saying, most cops don't know sign language. So how do you communicate with them? So, you just tap on the speech page. It says, I can't hear you clearly. I use this tool to understand what people are saying. And then you can just tap on the button, and instantly it'll start showing everything that I am saying. And if you look at it, it's pretty fast and it's pretty accurate as well. And so the thing is that if you notice, the microphone is over here. So I'm going to hit flip text. So now you'll be able to see it without, having to flip over your neck like that. And then you can also change the font size. So, not everyone requires the big font size. So you can, kind of reduce it. That way you can see more of the text, things like that. And so, for example, if you're a person who is verbal and you're trying to communicate with someone who's deaf, you can use this functionality to communicate with them. And essentially, they'll be able to see it super quick. So you don't have to worry about signing. You don't have to worry about understanding each other. The person who is deaf just goes in here to the text functionality and they can just type, hi. Like usually people who are nonverbal, they'll have a notepad. And then, they'll type over there, then they'll show their response. But with this one, what you can do is you can flip the text. You can type while the person is seeing it, you see? So there is no lag, essentially, in your communication. And then also, for example, if you go to a coffee shop and you order the same thing over and over, like a double, you can store a preset phrase over here at the bottom. Just tap on it, it shows up over here. So really focused on functionality, ease of use, and that's and we've tested it with a lot of people in so many different scenarios, and we've essentially seen what's the best way to put stuff, what's the best way to do things, and it really seems effective in solving the problem that we intended.
So as a scenario, I'm noticing that it's more difficult this year than last year for me to navigate problem solving, maybe memory, maybe I'm, not relating to people like I used to. I go into the doctor, I get the diagnosis, or I don't hear a diagnosis, and I think I still feel like I'm not really doing. At the same time, my hearing, which truly is diminishing, is going down a little bit more, and I'm, really wanting to I guess I will always have my phone with me, but if my hearing is, I might not put my aids in, when I'm just going to get groceries. So, Summer is my very kind police officer who pulls me over on my way home from the grocery store. And there's just traffic going by and everything. And I'm like, if I pull this out saying I'm deaf or hard of hearing, here's the officer who's doing his job, doing her job, being able to go, I see. You're not just being difficult. You're not being rude. You're not going, what? And hoping that I'll just go, never mind, walk away. We have a rational conversation with each other. So I'm using apps. I'm continuing to grow new neurons and new pathways in my brain, whether I have a disease going on that's just not yet diagnosed. I have this at my disposal. Honestly, I feel like you're saving the sanity of everyone around me just a few years from now when I need to use an app and my kids will be like, good job, Mom, you're using your app. You're not shying away from technology. I'm like, of course I am, because this is coming in so handy. There have been so many times where I'm just staring at people's lips going, I think they asked me if I want this, because there's such a hubbub going on behind me.
Yeah, and
I
one more
appreciate
thing
that.
I did not mention in a lot of the things, like there's a lot of other functionalities that I didn't mention, but for example, there's a transcription history. So if you go to the doctor's office, you can recall what that conversation was, and then you can either delete it or copy it. And none of this is sent over to a database. It's not sent over through the internet anywhere. None of that data comes to us. We don't steal any of that, and so you can just review it over time as well. And our hope really is that, like, first, that everyone downloads it, actually uses it. If you see someone who is deaf, you can actually use it to communicate with them. But then our hope also is that governments start trying to be more proactive, so that for example, the police force, if they find out someone is deaf, they know exactly what to do. They have a procedure. Okay, let's pull this out, let's use this to communicate.
Wow. Just a trolley ride away. We've got 3 buses that do a trolley ride between our community, our city, the city next door, and now it's always the 2 communities together, is a school for the deaf. I'm getting those kind of goosebumps where it's like, I could walk in with something and actually have those people. It's part of the university that I attended my senior year before I became a teacher. And I'm just going, I could actually show them something that they might say, okay, I've never seen anything function that way before.
Yeah,
This is fantastic.
We were at the CES, and like the number one feedback that we got was, how do we not know about this? And for them, I'm like, yeah, it's a free app. Google doesn't make any money to show you this. They'll show you things that they make money from, and so that's likely why you did not hear about it.
You were talking about money being a barrier. So, wow, this just it makes my heart happy for human beings. Just for human beings, for someone who's going, I wish I could interact with this person. They're a person too. I just love it. Oh my goodness. Pete, I know you're muted right now. Is it a good time? Okay. I didn't know if you had background things going on. You said, I'm not an expert. I am also not an expert, but I get to know them. So I believe it's over 200 weeks that you have had a guest. Just tell me about your guests. I want to learn, and I also want to go, I've heard of them. So go right ahead.
Well, first of all, I want to go back to the app, which I think is an amazing job. And I hope people in the UK are looking at that, because in terms of not only dementia that I deal with, but in social isolation is a massive public health issue throughout the world. And here we've got something that could really reduce social isolation and bring people who feel they can't have a rational conversation, they are excluded from the world because of their hearing problem, back into it. So, I'm going to be the first one to download it when I come off of here and have a really good look, because I think that's absolutely amazing. And really, it's a bit like the people I have on my show, to be honest, because I said I have a wide range of people. I have fairly prominent scientists who are looking into things. I've got a scientist actually who's at Arizona State University, I think I'm right in saying, who's looking at the links between dementia and autism. And she's one of only 6 scientists in the world that are actually looking at this. And one of the reasons why it's become a subject is that autism didn't actually exist till about 1990. It wasn't actually a medical diagnosis until that time. And that's the kind of thing I learned. I had no idea about that. And Blair is looking at that, but she has a problem because obviously people before 1990 didn't have a formal diagnosis. So actually the number of people she can look at is fairly small at the moment. So I've had people like Blair. I'll carry on the football link, if I may. There have been a lot of links in the UK between football and dementia, as there have in the US between the NFL and dementia. Excellent book about the NFL and dementia called League of Denial. If nobody has read that or seen it, go and read a copy, because it's horrendous, I've got to say, but it's a really interesting book. Here in the UK, we're not quite as far down as the NFL, because England won the World Cup in 1966. Thought I'd just get that in to still celebrate, because it's the only time we have won it. But sadly, a large proportion of that squad of all are either living with dementia or have all passed away living with dementia. And so on my programme, I had a lady called Dawn Astle, and she is part of the Jeff Astle Foundation. Her dad, Jeff, used to play football for England. And in 2002, his dementia was actually classified by a judge as an industrial injury. And it's the first and only time with regard to a footballer that's actually happened. So that, great, very interesting subject. A lot of people living with dementia I get on the show who are great because they're doing such marvelous things. We've got people like Peter Berry, who you mentioned. He's riding that penny farthing and doing things I would never want to do. And yet he's out there doing it. And lots more friends living with dementia who are doing amazing things and proving that they can still. The D is for do and not for don't. I have a lot of really good small charities who are doing great work here in the UK, and also charities that are doing great work in the US and throughout the world, who have taught me a lot of things about how resourceful you can be. And you talked a little bit there, Samir, about not being ruled by money. Well, these people can't be ruled with money because they haven't got any. It's fairly simple. So, but they still do an amazing job. And I've had, well, I'll tell you about Happiness Horsebox. Okay, when I started this program, I never thought I would spend an hour talking to a lady who was a horse rider. He's very loving of horsing and horses, and they're very much her world. And she had the thought, well, there must be people living with dementia in care facilities who used to love horses like I do. But because of their dementia and the fact they're living in a care facility, they're denied that. They can't have that joy anymore. So she thought, well, I'll do something about that. And so she got a horse box, and she takes that horse box now round care homes here in the UK. It's all been done out and everything is perfectly safe. And she lets people once again get in contact with the horses. And it's called Happiness Horse Box. I had no idea there were people doing things like that before I started doing my program. There's a whole project up in Scotland, which are dementia dogs. We have dogs for hearing. We have, obviously, dogs for the blind, we've had for a long time. They're also training dementia dogs who will be able to remind people to take their medication, can take items of clothing off, etc. And so all those things have really been learned in terms of doing my program. We mentioned, and I'll finish off with the Netherlands. We mentioned the Netherlands a little bit earlier on, didn't we, Christine, in terms of when we were talking about air travel. Well, they are very advanced indeed in terms of dementia care, because they've got something called a Hoogwijk, which is a dementia village. And instead of having the traditional care facility, they actually took the footprint of a traditional care facility, knocked it down, and they built a village which is 100% dementia friendly, which is a marvelous idea. And so, that's just a few of the examples of people that I've been so fortunate to meet over the last 4 years we've been doing the show.
Wonderful. Wow. You have a very heartwarming job. I love my job too. I get to meet the Summers and the Peters and the everybody's. Jennifer Butte, has she come into your realm? Maury Voicey Barlin?
No, that doesn't ring a bell.
Oh, Australia.
Ah, okay.
Oh boy, I believe he, in his category, won. If he didn't, I'll just pretend. I believe he won the Golden Pineapple for reaching an underserved population, especially during shutdowns. How he reached people, like you said, in dementia, memory care. These are your walls. This is it. And how he reached them. And so I guess I just gave you someone else to find out about. Okay, so a bit of trivia. Semmer, do you know what a penny farthing is?
I used to know it. I learned about it a few weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you even give it a category?
Give me a hint.
It's not money.
Of course it's not money.
I'll give you a hint. Transportation. I was a classroom teacher. This is under transportation.
Oh my gosh. I just learned about it a few weeks ago. Yeah, I give up.
Okay, you give up. Pete, help him out.
Yeah, penny farthing is a very old bicycle that dates back to Victorian times and has one extremely large wheel on the front and a very small wheel behind it, and you sit up at a great height, probably 6 feet up. It's got no gears, and you just ride it from there. It was a very old form of bicycle, and my friend and our friend Christine Peter Berry is a superb penny farthing rider. And I say when you see him sitting 6 foot up, you think he's very brave as well, because it's not something I'd like to have a go at.
Amazing. Okay, and now we'll switch. Pete, what is CES? What does it stand for, and why is it a big deal? And people just go, "Oh, I'm going to CES," and they never say what it is. Do you have any idea what CES is?
Well, that's an interesting one. I've got to say, CES. To be honest, no. I've got to draw a blank on me on CES. What am I missing?
I didn't. The experts I bring onto my screen, I was just like, but what is it? So you've been there, Summer. So go ahead. Do you know what it stands for? Because I can't remember either.
Yeah, so CES is a huge trade show. It's called the Consumer Electronics Show, and there's estimated of 150,000 people that come to the event every single year. And like, it started in the 1960s, and so they've been having it every year, and it's truly international. They have people from all over the world come there, have their own booths there, like and it's across 9 different hotels and conference centers in Vegas, and it's just an absolute blast. Like, it's really, really amazing time, especially if you have any interest in like technology. It's a must go.
There's a whole, I'm going to say, stage for age tech, anything related to care and being and keeping your individuality, your independence. I've only seen a few things. I've seen Abby on the floor trying to bring people over and ask them what it was that they're showing, inventing, innovating. How does it work? And but it's been going on since I was born, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, I think initially they didn't have it started off, I think, as a music show, and then they slowly turned it over into more of consumer electronics, essentially. And
Wow.
yeah, like, it's not just consumer electronics, it's also a lot of like business to business tools over there. But like, yeah, it's amazing to see what is coming out and what capabilities we have. Like, I didn't get to roam around too much, but I know that there was for example, a tool that someone had created where you speak into the phone, like, a paragraph, and you do that over time, and it tells you how your cognitive health is. So things like dementia and a lot of cognitive issues, it's able to diagnose just through your speech and how you slur and things like that. And it's amazing. Like, that's just one of a million things that they're there.
Wow. Oh, that would have worked. Steve Gurney does community, aging community. Oh, I'll get it, Steve. PAC. He just has shows throughout the week. He is pretty amazing. Puts himself out there, lets people make comments, like, we need more of this. Tell us more of that. And so someone comes on and says, solo ager, what can I do? I'm a solo ager. I have a friend who's a solo ager, and they definitely are showing signs of dementia. What about me? When I get to that, if I get to that, should I know ahead of time? I need information. Well, there is something right there. Boom, they can grab that app and do a baseline. I'm reading the paragraph, and then there comes up then an indicator, 5, 10, 15 years of that is becoming difficult. I'm a solo ager. Do I know that I'm having TIAs? Did I just kind of fall asleep on my dinner table, or did I have an episode that needs to be looked at? You know what? I'm going to speak into this. I can do something. I can advocate for myself. I can watch over myself with help. So we're at that point. I will quickly say that my husband, D. Scott Smith, who brought you over nice and big, and we could see your phone so clearly. That worked out so well. Thank you, honey. He's down the hall, around the corner, and he's making everything. We just watched Wizard of Oz on the big screen at the cinema 2 blocks away. And of course, he is moving the levers and making the wizardry happen. Thank you to my Wizard of Oz, D. Scott Smith, motivational listener. He encouraged me to take an article that I wrote for LinkedIn because someone said it was a good idea, and I wrote it, and he said expand it into a book. So this is something that I made, was not caregiver, but caregriever kit. It has to do with what I learned from the wonderful people that invited me into their homes when I was their hired caregiver or assistant, and how they were dealing with multiple losses and grieving of anniversaries, pre-grieving, anticipatory grieving, just what I learned from them, and put it into an article and expanded it with my husband's help into a really tiny book. And I did have one person right here in the state of Oregon say, 2 of my clients, I let them thumb through, and they said, I feel like this is so short and it is so practical. I can use this right now, because this goes over to Pete, because my loved one is going into dementia, and there are losses that I am feeling in the way that we always were and the way that we need to be now. And I feel like I can put together a physical self-care kit for me when I'm grieving a loss, and I don't necessarily want my loved one to feel bad. So I can go to my kit, my first aid kit for the loss that I'm feeling, put something into it, take something out of it. I made it myself, so I know myself, but I've put things in there that I can do or reminisce through, or a place to just write something and put it away for another time when I'm feeling low about things that are changing and things that I'm missing and people that I am missing. The other one was me. It's a huge book. And I love what's in it because, again, I learned from the families. I learned from the loved ones of my clients about the changes, and I identified 52 different things that are often age-related or longevity related. And I put them in here so that people can say, okay, I might be aging. Apparently I am. I'm a proponent of longevity, so I plan to continue aging. What can I do for my own emotions? Because that is the one thing that affects everything as you age, is how you feel about that prescription, about that change. And also, I can be proactive in my relationships and growing relationships, whether I'm a solo ager or I have 17 grandchildren. I can be proactive in how I'm going to keep those relationships resilient, and how I'm going to be emotionally brilliant through my aging. So those are my 2 books. Which one of you would like to give your contact information first?
My contact information is, I haven't quite got around to writing the book yet. I think I may do one day, but who knows? I'm on the the normal social media channels. The artist formerly known as Twitter, as I call it these days, which is obviously X, at TDW Radio. We're on Instagram as well, TDW_radio. And probably the biggie is where you can find all the shows, which hopefully will be appearing on the screen. And I won't have to go through the entire web address, but it's there it is, ukhealthradio.com, program The D Word. You'll find the last 100 episodes of the D Word up there, all for listen again and download. And there's a new one appears every Monday. And the email, love to hear from people, is tdwradio@gmail.com.
And D stands for do. What do I do despite that diagnosis.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I would love to follow and maybe binge watch some of your previous things, Pete. For us, so we have, we obviously had to make money. And so we have two tools that we use to make money from. One is called Health Scribe, and it is great for medical purposes because it works offline, and you're able to essentially, I can do like a quick demo too. You're essentially able to start speaking with your patients. So if you're, a caregiver, you just tap on a button and it immediately starts picking up words, and it's a pretty big font size. So, if you're giving care to patients, it's a fantastic tool. The other thing that it also does, so apart from just being useful for deaf and hard of hearing people, we also do live translation. That's also offline, so it doesn't use the internet. And 30 seconds, if you don't speak anything, it'll just erase everything. So you don't have to worry about HIPAA compliance and all that privacy issues. But there's a lot of different languages that it can translate it to as well. So for example, this one's Spanish. You just tap the button, and if there's a patient of yours that's Spanish speaking, it immediately picks up everything that you're saying and gives it to them. So that's one tool, and we charge a subscription fee for subscribers. If you're interested, email us. Our email address is on the website. The other tool that we have is called conference captioning. So if you have a conference or a classroom and you want to provide deaf accommodations, it's super simple to set up, takes 15 seconds, and you're able to do that. And that's also a subscription.
Oh, why wouldn't a medical professional want to have that themselves at their office and go, finally, I can really help anyone who has any difficulty with seeing, hearing, understanding. They can instantly say back, you switch it to your original language, and they can say, I don't understand. Do you mean I should take it bi-weekly? Does that mean twice a week or every 2 weeks? What a difference. Oh, thank you. Thank you for clarifying. Now we know why you have not been getting better, or you've been getting sicker, because I said bi-weekly. Clarification. Oh,
Yes.
This has been great. We are just moments away from the top of the hour. I'm so glad you two met each other, and I'm going to let somebody get to lunch, somebody get to dinner. I'll have breakfast, and we'll have a portion of the world covered here. Thank you so much to both of you for what you do every day for everyone who actually knows that you exist. That's why we come on to these shows. It's like, we're here. Horton hears a who. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I will let you on with your day. I'm ever grateful. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Christine.
Oh,